This is the Bar Stewards Enquiry.
You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
But that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that.
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
And an enormous welcome to the Bar Stewards Enquiry weekend podcast. This is covering the meeting at Doncaster, the start of the flat. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime, John Leng of John Joe's Blogspot, who's in blistering form from last week, big price winner at Kempton. And this week, we've got some cracking advice and bets, and also some interesting rants, let's say, from the questions we've had this afternoon. So onwards and upwards to this show. Me and John are very excited, I can tell you now, for the start of the flat. We've had enough of this twig hopping lark. It's pathetic, John. Do you agree?
Mafficking has been relieved. I'm cock a hoop. Any happier and I'd bust, in all honesty. It's like Christmas Eve, this.
I think there's nothing finer in seeing like well-bred horses run on a green baize. Not that Doncaster's a green baize this week, judging on some comments on social media from trainer Roger Fell, who posted pictures and more or less said the ground's awful. Did you see that, John?
I did. I thought it was the one redeeming quality for the ground at Doncaster. It's managed to upset Rog, really. Always nice to know he's going to bed with a needle in his pyjamas, and that's not in doubt tonight. He'll be chuntering up every step, I would imagine, and good enough for him.
Yeah, I mean, good old Rog. You're not a fan of Rog, John?
Not in particular, no.
And there was a question tonight from one of our listeners, Carl Swanson, who said basically, are you worried about the state of the ground at Doncaster, or do you think Roger's overreacted? Is it a worrying sign that we could have like rattling, quick, rough ground tomorrow, John?
I'm a little bit worried where they're going to send Poor Lydia tomorrow, to be honest, because Popeye's had a right go at her on Twitter this afternoon, hasn't he?
I've seen it, yeah. He's fanned the flames, yeah.
He just won't leave it alone, will he? I mean, he doesn't know when he's lit, the lad, and he's... I was thinking of sending him a going chart or something, just to give him some idea of what he's actually talking about, bro. I'm frightened to death to get a card back saying how many winners have you trained, so I don't think I'll bother. I
mean, how stupid did he look that day, though, Endo? I mean, we've been there and done it, but I mean, he was basically saying that the going was heavy and it was riding good to soft. I mean,
yeah, but there's no limit to how stupid Endo can make yourself look. That's the thing, and I think he's quite prepared to look even stupider and rekindle the flames in this particular argument.
I think that's it. I think what an idiot. If you're wrong, then just brush it under the carpet and just pretend it never happened. I mean, don't bring it up again. I mean, what an idiot.
It's typical of every trainer in the country. Once they hit 60, they don't think anybody can tell them anything.
No, that's true. That is true. Yeah, that is true upon racing for the racing fraternity. Basically, you can't. That's true. You can't tell them anything.
I think they've all got a little bullshit switch behind the left ear. And once they hit 60, somebody throws that switch, and then that's it. They can just come out with anything, really. And if anybody questions it, they just have an anaphylactic shock or something,
Second question I thought was interesting from Lorne Malvo. He's a good listener.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. He's a good fella. And he said, and I think this could be one for you, this question. He says here, who do you think is the retardest trainer currently operating at the moment? Who wouldn't you fight, John?
I'll tell you what, you might find this a bit surprising, actually, but David Barron, first.
Oh yeah.
I think he's a wee bit sullen, and he could be a hair trigger violence man. I think the switch could be like a Mercury tilt job, and I don't think it'd take much, and I think he'd do a proper job on you once he started,
Yeah, I've heard one or two tales the same about David Barron. He's a bit of an hard taskmaster.
Maybe useful, I think.
I mean, probably as I would say answers the question. I'd probably say Jim Bolger. I mean, Jim's nasty, isn't it? I mean, Jim, you could be there lying on the floor and Jim would piss on you. I mean, do you agree with that?
I don't know. I'd kind of fancy 10 minutes with Jim, but I think that's just because I'd want to find out.
Yeah, destroying.
Well, I wouldn't want to die not knowing. Put it that way.
No. Interesting. So the flat starts tomorrow, but also we've got action at Dubai for the Dubai World Cup meeting, where the Stringers will be out in full force with the desert reaction out there.
I did hear Princess Latifah's presenting one of the trophies. I don't know.
What do you think they'll wheel her out, John, or do you think she's?
I think she'll probably be in full Hannibal Lecter gear, strapped to a shuttle or something like that with a mask on.
She might have seen better days by now, I think. But yeah.
Could be the case, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Which on our final question today, it was again from one of our regular listeners, and it was regarding Mishriff, and it was from John Hines, Mr. 101, and he said, any view on Mishriff in the turf over a mile and a half? Never underestimate a superfeed trainer. But to run a major race on dirt in Saudi last month and now turn up in top form on grass in Dubai over further from a bad draw would be literally an incredible feat, John. Have you any views on Mishriff tomorrow?
I shared the gentleman's misgivings, I must admit. I think it's a pretty big ask in the circumstances, and I couldn't really be backing him at the price, to be honest.
Well, I think we've got a bar stewards agreement here, because Mishriff, for me, had a ridiculously hard race in that race in Saudi Arabia. The American horses went really hard. The fractions were lung busting early. And the fact that Mishriff did have a nice trip, picked them off. But if you look in his races, I think there's enough speed there. He's been winning races by turn of foot over a mile and a quarter. And I think the biggest issue for him is the mile and a half, because there's nothing in his pedigree to say that, yes, this horse will improve for going even further.
No.
On the dam side, there's nothing there to say that he'll get the mile and a half. And Make Believe was by McFay. There's nothing there to say this is mile and a half tackle. So I'd be against Mishriff for that reason alone. That's before the hard race in Dubai. That's before, the surface switch. So me and John appear to be in unanimous agreement that Mishriff tomorrow will not be winning the mile and a half turf race over in Meydan. And I think I would also, if I can lay a nice price about it, and I would say less than 4-1 is my sort of price to lay, I will be taking on Mishriff tomorrow at Meydan. We go to the 450 at Meydan, which is the Dubai World Cup, John, on dirt, worth £5.25 million to the winner. A real big pot there. Mystic Guide is the 5-2 favourite. Have you any views on this race?
It's a ridiculous amount of money for dirt horses. I've no real view on the form. There's too many imponderables for me. Too many horses I don't know anything about.
Yeah. What have you done, John? Are they coming for you?
No. We've got there's a pandemic on, you know.
Yeah.
Somebody else in '96 getting whipped in for the electric shock treatment to keep them going till spring.
What I actually thought was there's a horse in here that's second favourite at 11-2, best price.
Yeah.
Called Jesus Team. How does that work for the Arabs over there? With Jesus Team taking their biggest prize.
Well, I think
Jesus doesn't exist.
I think what they might decide to do, they might say, well, we're going to give you the money, but we'll give you it in silver, and we're going to bury you up to your necks and pelt you with it.
Is that the Americans trolling? You know, the Americans thought, let's send a horse over called Jesus Team.
It looks that way, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah. Allah is not, you know, the land of Allah cannot be dealing with Jesus Team winning the Dubai World Cup and it being plastered all over their news channels that Jesus Team has won the Dubai World Cup.
Allah couldn't deal with that school teacher in Bradford earlier in the week, so Christ knows what he's going to react like to this.
In Batley, yeah. Just bizarre.
Oh.
The name Jesus Team turns up in the Dubai World Cup. Anyway, I found it funny. I don't know if anyone else did. But
Just our sand was on.
I just thought that, you know. Anyway, Princess Latifah might show her face for that, like you say. Well, not hold our breath for that. She might not either. The racing tomorrow, we've got Doncaster, obviously, Kempton Rosebery meeting. And I think before we get on to Doncaster, because I know you've got a nap at Doncaster tomorrow, and I quite like it. Well, obviously, I haven't found it. You found it. I haven't noticed it, but I think you've got a really good nap tomorrow. So before we get on to John's nap and Doncaster and everything, I thought we'd probably have a look at Kempton. ITV are doing 2 races there on the telly box, and we've got the Magnolia Stakes, the listed race, 8-13. John, Global Giant for that. Any betting opportunities here for our listeners?
I think there is, and it's not Global Giant. I mean, he's top of the figures, but for one that's so highly rated, he doesn't win many. I thought his last run was a bit of a fizz out. Admittedly, it was a good race, but, you know, he's one of these I keep expecting to say better. He'll probably be fit, but I think it's hard to know what to expect, really. You got Fairlap, that's the Haggis selection of 2. Didn't really progress last year. I'm assuming he's had problems. He's going with a tongue strap tomorrow. For him to keep going, I think he'd probably have aspirations for it to get to Road 2 standard this year, at least.
Yeah, already beaten by Global Giant as well, Fairlap.
Yeah, but the one I'm interested in, actually, is Stormy Antarctic.
With the wind surgery for first time wind up, Red Walker.
This thing, I mean, I was talking about Global Giant doesn't win often. Well, Stormy Antarctic wrote the book, didn't he? But I thought last year he showed when he ran behind Persian King there is no back number and he's still got the ability to win a race of this nature.
Yeah.
But the real point of interest for me with this was back in 2017 when this horse had his one and only run on the all-weather. It was only 6th, but he should have won by 20 minutes. Now, everybody says, Stormy Antarctic needs bottomless ground. He's clearly a raspberry. Now, for me, he has been crying out to get back on this supported surface. He got absolutely Spencered that day. Never saw a chink of daylight. As I say, he should have won 10 minutes. And as most people reckon he's on the way down, I think he'll be backable and might even drift on the day, you know. he's had the wind up, the tongue strap's going on. I think he'll be fit because, I mean, he's got back on where he won at the Craven, mate, and he comes down early.
Yeah.
I think he's a cracking bet against them two. I really do.
You make some good points. I mean, like you said, the surface could be interesting. I like the fact that even last year he proven that he got a heartbeat. He was second to Persian King in the pre-disband.
I mean, what place did he be in this?
Well, yeah, that's good form. That is strong form indeed. And like you say, 110 rating. So he's only £3 unofficial to find with Global Giant. 9-1 in the betting forecast. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that at all. Thrasher Morris on board to thrash the living daylights out of it.
Which is what we like to say. We've had the money down.
For sure. Yeah, I like.
Spoil the child.
Yeah. No, not knocking that one because I haven't got anything better, and I certainly wouldn't be taking the price Global Giant is.
No,
that does not represent value for me. I'd be wanting nearer levels, you devils, especially after that race in Saudi Arabia where he was absolutely tailed off.
Oh, yeah.
So after that, we move to the 2:15 at Kempton. That's the Rosebery handicap, and it looks quite a quality renewal, really, in terms of the favourite of Willie Haggis. Very, very well regarded Al Zarakhan. That's leading the market at 11.08. John, could you dig out any value in this? But
well, I thought there was two promising horses in this. The Haggis one, obviously. Tom Marquand's been quoted saying how much he likes this horse.
Yeah.
And I think he's got the potential to mature into a lovely older horse. And the other one would be Almiguer of John Gosden's. A lot of scope for improvement. It really needed to thicken up last year. It looked weak, you know. And
you like this? You put this? Did you put this up? I'm sure you mentioned this to me last year. I'm sure you did.
I did, yeah. And I've looked forward to seeing it as a 4-year-old. Actually, I think this will make up into a proper horse this year. And I think when it bombed out last year, I think that was just like the 3 runs just getting on top of it a bit, and it wasn't quite there, you know.
Yeah.
And I think with another winter under its belt, it will develop into a decent sort. This. So
yeah. I think the betting is absolutely spot on here, and sometimes we can have a good old chuckle at the odds compilers overnight. Some of their tissues, but this one looks absolutely bang on to me. The third favourite's a little bit interesting still. Dark Pine came out of Death Camp Well.
Yeah.
Improved enormously.
Correct.
And that, that might not have finished improving. So, but the betting for me is bang on. I have not got an edge for you in this in terms of I like all three. I like the top 3 in the market, which is just basically saying the obvious. That's not telling anyone anything. So
it's a nice race for the future, isn't it? Though,
It is, and as with many, as we discussed off air, that this time of year it's identifying what yards have got the horses forward. When you see, I always think if you see a couple of horses run out of a certain yard and they run well below market's expectations, then you should be very wary about backing any of the other runners because they'll all be sort of working not necessarily together, but the same regime, the same feed, the early type. So if they're not quite on the ball early with the first couple of runners, I always think that's when you should possibly watch your bets. If, say, certain trainers are just a little bit behind others with their horses. But I don't think we've got that problem here with William Haggis and John Gosden, but it's just something to bear in mind. Right, we move over to Doncaster, where it literally is, for me and John anyway, it's very exciting. It's the Green Bays. Sadly, this year, we're without Khalid Abdullah witnessing the action. Sheikh Hamdan not able to witness the action, which is very sad. Whatever your politics are on Arabs, the fact is he's been a prominent breeder owner for many decades, and it's sad because these colours are.
They're the best two, really, aren't they?
The sad thing is, as we've seen with national hunt racing, you don't want domination by anyone. Like in terms of, like at the moment, it's the Irish, it's McManus, Gordon Elliott, Gigginstown, Willie Mullins. You don't want certain people just to have a grip on the sport. You want a wide variety, and obviously opposing Coolmore, you've got Khalid Abdullah and you've got Sheikh Hamdan, and I'm praying that by hook or crook we've still got these colours at least running in some shape or form for whenever. I have no idea what the plans are. I've not read anything. Have you?
No, I think sort of doing some fairly bog basic sort of maths and things with the breeding operation and that. I think we've probably got 5 years out of them, no matter who takes over. I think 5 years down the line, people might be feeling the squeeze if nobody takes up the cudgel. But I think initially, I think we'll be all right.
What some of the kids be wanting handouts though, as in divvies up,
I don't know. I mean, they're all pretty well got anyway, aren't they? And, if they've got any sense, they'll know when to keep the trap shut. Otherwise, they might be in the cellar chain to a radiator.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, they've got to answer. They have to answer, don't they? To the ruler of Dubai, they have to answer.
Don't get it found out.
No. Right, so we've got the first race of the day at Doncaster, which is the Brocklesby, the 2-year-old event, conditions event, and obviously the first 2-year-old race of the flat turf calendar. Very disappointed, John, not to see this on terrestrial telly.
It's a sin and a shame, isn't it, a traditional race like this? In the main, I think ITV do a good job bringing racing to the masses.
Yeah.
But I think on occasion they can glaringly overlook something that's a bit key and a bit traditional, and and sort of put the foot in it a bit, like they did at Cheltenham when they revisited the COVID thing. And I think this is another obviously on a smaller scale, but it's a little bit of a howler not having this on the telly.
Yeah. It's a very informative race because naturally a lot of trainers run their sharpest, most less green types, rough and ready if you like, and that does sort of like paint a picture for the early 2-year-old races.
You get your markers for 6 weeks, don't you? Really?
Yeah. And like I say, I like to see them in the paddock, and I'd have loved to have seen it on terrestrial TV. I think for anyone that enjoys watching horses and looking at the condition of them and the behavioural of these 2-year-olds, it would have been nice to see them like with full ITV coverage. So I was disappointed. Anyway, onto the race itself. I felt that the George Boffey runner was the most interesting because he's by Cotai Glory, and I believe that Cotai Glory this year will have a good season. The amounts they've made at the sales, 3 have made over 100,000. The medium price is sort of mid-20s for colts anyway, and for a 5,000 stud fee, that tells me that these bloodstock agents are impressed with what they're seeing with Cotai Glories, John.
Yeah, I mentioned to you I had a nice note on Cotai Glory as a racehorse.
Yeah.
And I would assume it's probably stamping its stock. Yeah. I mean, we've got a chestnut colt, a similar type. April Foal, which I liked a bit solely, to be honest, for the Brocklesby, but I mean, on paper it looks a sound enough sort.
I mean, I'm sort of glad we agree on Cotai Glory. You liked him as a physical specimen, and that must be sort of transmitting to the offspring, given the sales price.
I think he met a stallion, yeah.
Yeah, so Forca Brazil, trained by George Boffet, me and John are quite interested to see that, despite the fairly late foaling date of April. The one that's been heavily backed at the moment is Mick Windmills, Wonderful World, a bungle in the jungle. So
yes. I mean, with it being a Mick Windmill turn favourite, you could expect this to be running in its fourth maiden race at Pontefract first maiden, couldn't you?
I can see this, and I can see it at Chepstow in 4 runs with 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6 by mid-May.
And and then I think you'll be looking for it popping up in a Redcar cellar and then getting it 5th or 6th in the Chesham, won't you?
Well, that's it. I mean, yeah, I bought a horse from
there.
Scargill. Yeah. Scargill, yeah. Bought it for 6,000. Won one race or 2 races. I can't remember. I won 1 race with it anyway. And sold it for 44,000. Cheers, Mick Windmill. Yeah, good days.
He's better to buy off than Marks and Spencer's, honestly. One I would urge people to have a look at least in the market provisionally is the 33-1 poke of Mark Walford's Kenyan Commander. It's the oldest horse in the race.
I tell you, do you know? I like how you flagged that up, because Mark Walford is a very, 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 very underrated trainer.
Yeah, he's steady, isn't
he? He's won with, well, I like him because he's won with first-time out 2-year-olds. He's trained handicap chasers. He's trained. You name it, he's trained it. Yeah. He's trained them to win and do the job. And I bet you any money that this will be really straight. And
I think so, yeah.
You know, and yeah, absolutely by war command.
And Dougie Costello up, you know. I mean, he's not messing about.
No, interesting spot, because I do like the yard. But whatever your bet's in there, as I said, I fans watch out for Cotai Glories. Is the advice in
That's
the
early season tip for stallions, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to be. Look, I mean, I'm not saying Cotai Glories are going to take the world by storm and end up being a super sire, but for £5,000 pounds to go and take your mare there. It seems. I don't think 5,000 will be there next season. Put it that way. I think if they're making the sums that they have been at the sales, then clearly the price is going to go up. So it's Cotai Glory, the interesting sire for us in the Brockles Bay. Right, we go on to the 2 o'clock. It's Doncaster Mile, a listed event. A very competitive affair as well, I may say. 100 to 30 favourite is Montatham. William Haggis been quite well back. Was about 5s, I think, earlier in the week. Now showing it's around the 100 to 30 mark. John, any interest for you in this?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to take this on, really.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely convinced by this one, and I think there's comparable form with some others in this. The one I liked was Juan Elcano.
Yeah, Kevin Ryan.
Yeah. Obviously, first time up last year, he managed to run 5th in the Guineas, and then, rather typical of one of Kev's that shows an enormous amount of promise, he ended up casting around at various trips the rest of the season, trying to find a win, and failed dismally in all fairness. I thought the run at Ascot behind Russian Emperor was adequate, but didn't scream out to me that he was wanting any further, which he then proved at York and subsequently York again over 12, where he just palpably failed to stay. The knackers are off, which I think is a massive plus, because while Frankel is a very good sire in the making, he can sire quite a few hotheads, I think. And I think the fact that the knackers are off here gives this horse a bit of a squeak. The other one I was interested in is Quasar, which is a fairly solid start. Unusual, really, that this one hasn't tailed off a bit, because I think sometimes Alan gets stuck into these horses and they run plenty, and they get to this sort of age and they're sure they've probably had enough. But I think this one maintained quite well last year, and I think this will be a good race for this one to start off in. I'm hoping that the Hannon team are in reasonable nick at the minute.
Yeah, just one thing I've tried to find out as usual, like Space Traveller.
Yeah,
of Richard Faze. I found this really weird, that especially like from a racing media point of view, that so the horse was sixth in the Queen Anne,
yeah,
to Circus Maximus, and it beat Matterhorn at Leopardstown. This is amazing form, really. In 2019, and there's not one article, nothing in the public domain, nothing, no news, no Racing Post articles, no nothing. What's happened to Space Traveller after the Queen Anne?
no,
Which I find for an 113 flat horse, there'd have been some kind of mention. What's happened to this, or some announcement from the yard, or Clipper Logistics, or someone just to say he's had an injury, he's had a leg, or he's whatever. I don't know.
We might get a Racing Post comment later tonight.
Well, yeah, I think that's what everyone needs, really, because obviously it wouldn't have just not raced last year. Why would you not? So obviously it's had some sort of setback, but it would have been nice to know what that was, given the standard of the horse. But there's absolutely zero in the public domain on Space Traveller, which obviously has very, very good form. So Juan Elcano for John. He likes the balls off angle. Who doesn't? Women mainly. And Space Traveller, I think, is worth a look. Or if you can see any comments for tomorrow saying it's well-being, then that could be interesting also. We move on to the Spring Mile, the 235. £23,000 to the winner. Probably got more in 1988, but never mind. Acquitted is the 11-2 favourite for Carlton Palmer. John.
Well, the good thing about this is our friend Nick Davis, former member of the Intercity firm, is actually now using his Intercity rail card, bumping round the shops in outer London, trying to get a bit of 11-2, and by the time we've finished here, he's going to be looking to get 4-1. There's two in here that are both running 2 stones late tomorrow. That's one of them. And at the end of the day, this was only 3 lengths behind Palace Payer at Newcastle last spring.
Absolutely.
And was back to beat Palace Payer. Yeah. The other one is, and this will have the Ginger Hitler laughing, because he absolutely ripped me all season for rating this, and this is Mazcat. He's another one that was crying out to have that shop, to be honest. And by the end of the season, I'd have happily done it with a couple of house picks. Pace is up the middle, the quickies drawn close enough to it to be a massive help. I'd favour a quickie, but I can't let Mazcat run loose with no knackers on.
Yeah, Mazcat's got solid handicap form from last year, running well behind some very good types. Let's say Brentford Hope, for example, runs in the main event, and yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Doesn't win often enough for me, for my liking, but that would be one worry. But like you say, with knackers off, who knows? That could be the making of the horse.
Could win 15 this year.
Before I offer my view on Acquitted, I'd like to discuss the Ginger Hitler, because I was chatting with my wife today, and we described the Ginger Hitler. If he was a horse, right, he'd be one of them spoilers. So when you're a front runner and you make the running,
Yeah.
Ginger Hitler would be one of them shit 66 to 1 pokes, pushing you to go harder and harder and harder just so
Yeah.
you don't win.
Yeah.
Right? He drops out and finishes like 4 furlongs behind, but he's not bothered because
He's happy because you've lost.
Because you spoilt your chance, and that I summed it up. So every time I have a betting running now, or I something takes me on for the lead, if I'm back to front runner, I just say it's the Ginger Hitler. It makes me feel better because that's it. A terrible man.
That's the man to a T, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So anyway, acquitted. Yes. Hugo Palmer, James Doyle takes the ride. Balls off angle again in the same race for acquitted, which is bound to help because this horse, I think, just lost his way after that second to Palace Pier. He completely just went wrong, and I'm prepared. Nick Davis is scoffing at 11-2. Nick Davis gets nosebleeds and feels ill backing anything in single figures. So he was very upset when he saw this was 11-2. But I did point out to him, I think this will go 7-2. So it's up to you, Nick. But anyway, this horse obviously has got outstanding form. It was fourth to Tritonic in the Hanson and Clark at Newbury back in 2019. Man of the Night was second. Cape Palace third in that. Then it beat Waleed. Miss Riff was third in that novice race that it won. Favourite Moon was fourth. That's in the mid-90s now. Acquitted has just got top-class form and he's waiting to become top-class, I think. But he just hasn't managed to string it together. But I think the balls off angle is good. 11-2, I think, is value. And I would be, if I was a book, I would be ducking this at 11-2 because there'll be each way sharks as well, trying to play the 14 places that they offer, and so I'd be ducking this one. I want to know 11-2 each way this one. I'd say bollocks. I'd say you can have 7-2 and do it in if it's placed. That's what I'd be saying on Acquitted tomorrow. So that's me and John. Acquitted, and he likes the Ralph Ray. Ray. Yeah. Also in that race, Mascat with the balls off angle. That's for us two in the Spring Mile. We've got the Spring Mile between us, I think. Then we go to the main event, the one that's currently worth £51,540. It's the Unibet Lincoln. It's worth £2,000 more than in 1989, John.
Well, like current salaries, to be honest.
Yeah. More hours, same pay.
That's it. But look at the productivity on them workers. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's for another show. Johan is probably still better than his mark for me, and I think the fact that he goes quite handy might be a good move because I could not identify a lot of pace in this race for a Lincoln. Orban has had a wind up.
Yeah.
Got Spencered a couple of times after winning at York. I think that's one on a fair mark.
Spencer.
But he might be held up too far off the pace, which is the case, sad to say, with my long-term fancy King Off the Car. I think if this was a truly run race, I'd still hold an excellent chance, but I've got a couple of each way lucky 15s rolling onto King Off the Car, where I actually cashed my each way double in earlier this week.
Okay.
When I saw the draw on the lack of pace. Hakiki didn't look like he stopped improving last year, and the Silver Kid taking 7 off isn't a bad thing if you're looking for him to grow another leg here. Brentford Hope, again, probably get a bang old up ride irrespective of how fast they go, so I couldn't chance him. Of the fancied ones, I think Eastern World will probably get the ideal ride for the likely pace of the race. But the selection is Man of the Night, who I thought showed more than enough in a slowly run Lincoln trial at Wolves that this had suit him down to the ground. He went straight in my notebook after that he just wanted a true test at a mile, and Well, I would have preferred a little bit more pace on it. He won't be held up right out the back. And I think 25 to 1 near quite close to this side in the draw.
Yeah.
I think that's just too big.
So are you sort of looking like at high drawn horses? Is that where
Pretty
we're
much, yeah. I think if I was in the middle, I wouldn't let that put me off, but it certainly put me off the low draws.
Right. And just interesting. So, I mean, looking at the weather for Saturday at Doncaster, it's nearly a direct headwind. So anything making the running at Doncaster, I think, might just have a tough task. I wouldn't say it's direct. I'd say it's about 2/3. It's a west, probably a west southwesterly, that kind of direction, which kind of just takes it about 2/3 headwind. So
Yeah,
I thought,
yeah.
I definitely don't want to be in front.
No, I don't
want to be
up
up there. I'd like to be just getting some nice cover.
Yeah.
Interested that you said man of the night, because I got a late message saying that needed the run at Wolverhampton, and it was just having a float up, which was unfortunate for listeners and for my people that I told to back. So man of the night will come on a lot for that Wolverhampton effort. Whether he's got the class to win this kind of contest, I'm not so sure. Hakike, like you say, they've played an absolute blinder. It's like the ace of spades up the sleeve. They've played the ace of spades. They've put the kid on, taking the 7 off. He's cool as a cucumber. I think he's the right sort of pilot for this horse, to be honest. And taking the 7 off gets it down to 93. And John and Thady can.
It's like when the goodies played the Joker in the goodies and the
sickening scenes when it
Beanstalk,
falls up, John. So next we move on to the 345, the Unibet Camage Trophy. It's a listed race, and Brando heads the market with Summergander around the 7-2 mark. John, any views on the Camage Trophy?
Well, obviously Brando holds every chance on the figures. He's often won first time out, but it's tended to be in Newmarket and we haven't. And of course, probably doesn't play to his strengths as much as this one ought to. I was quite surprised to see he's only running here once before, which once again maybe makes you question Kev's placement sometimes.
Yeah.
Summergan comes here so fit he makes the butcher's dog look like Arthur Mullard. Cracking run latest on the all-weather. As the form in the boat to go close, I found it very hard to make a case for anything else. I think Summergan's pretty much placed banker material, really.
Yeah, the only upsetting thing, I'd got Summergan down as the bet of the weekend. It was 11-2.
Yeah.
When the decks were first done, and I'm thinking this is each way heaven. 11-2 is just absolutely monstrous. It's had 3 runs now to get absolutely rippling fit. Like you said, it's the right track for it. It's a straight 6. It won the Stewards Cup, with a strong pace, and it would just get the right trip, just get the right cover. If 3 beat this, I'd be astonished. I'd be absolutely if three in this, the 11 runner field beat this horse, I'd be astonished.
Yeah.
And I think Summergand, is there any juice at 7-2? Probably a little bit, but I am a little bit disappointed now and deflated as the odds have collapsed on Summergand. So that more or less covers the TV action that we're covering. John, I know for a fact you've got a good nap, but before we get onto your nap, I need to promote our Sunday show, which is a Sunday sermon special, which consists of myself and John's main horses to follow this season, where we'll be giving our five best horses to follow for the entire flat season. We'll also be giving our guineas, that's 1,000 and 2,000, and Derby and Oaks fancies for this year. So this is quite exciting because we've put a lot of work into this.
Some real dark horses, honestly, that look like they've come straight from Harry Belafonte's arsehole. These are that dark.
We've got some absolute quality, and This is a show not to be missed. And we'll start the show with absolute banter as always. So again, get your comments in. We've already got some comments in for Sunday and questions. So please get your comments and questions in. Messages on Twitter, Barstew's Inquiry. You will get read out. I promise you. So, Sunday's show, it'll be a 90-minute extended Sunday sermon, basically discussing the best prospects of this season's flat season, according to myself and John. So that is a do not miss show. Right, we're going to get on to John's nap, which is exciting, but we're not, because we're going to listen to what I fancy first, because John's nap really is it's like the cherry on the cake of today's show. It usurps anything I can produce on this show.
You're talking this into a fast finishing fifth there, aren't you?
I love it. So what I thought I'd do, I would come up with a bet elsewhere for those that are interested in betting elsewhere Saturday. Of course we are. We're all addicted and we all love many bets. Stick that one up your gambling commission backside. I like a horse at Navan, and it's a filly that will be in my horses to follow for this season. It's trained by Mr. Stack, the son of Tommy Stack. Is it John Stack or James Stack? I can't remember. John. Fozzie Stack. So Coco Banana.
It's what everybody called John gets called for short, isn't it? Fozzie. In Ireland, anyway.
Fozzie Stack. Anyway, Fozzie Stack, Chris Hayes, Coco Banana in the 3:35 at Navan. Now, this filly ran just two incredible races. She ran in a sales race at the Curran debut, which is no mean feat in itself. She was just hopelessly outpaced, really, over 6.5. Then they went to 7, and she didn't look that busy, really. I didn't feel behind Queen's Speech. She pulled a bit. She just didn't run a race as what you'd expect, but I don't think they were that busy. Opened 100 to 30 and drifted. And I think Coco Banana at 12 to 1 each way. Whatever she does, I mean, I wouldn't go mad, but just a small each way play, because she's that kind of filly that I think is going to end up black type. So whether she's going to be spot on, stepping up in trip, she's bred to get it on the dam side anyway, and I think she wants it. Looking at the races, so I thought Coco Banana was a very good each way bet around 12 to 1 in the 3:35 at Navan. Just again for a little bit of sport, but now the pièce de résistance. This is what you listen to this show for. He gave a good winner last week and the banker of the weekend on Sunday, and John's already filled me in with what this nap is, and I really like it. John, the stage.
Right. Well, usually Doncaster, these big failed handicaps, I start from the proviso that I want to bang hold up a horse because it's a tremendous track to hold up red, but on occasion you can get caught out and there's not a lot of pace on. And there ain't a great deal of pace on here, but what we have got is some really terrible jockeys involved. This is the 4:55, an apprentice race where now the alarm bell should be ringing because you've got apprentices who actually claim off other apprentices. This is what we're dealing with here. I mean, some of these won't even know they need the leg either side of the horse. Now, it kind of left me with two options. My first option, admittedly, since Jettison was Ruth Carr's much of my dad, I was crashing down the handicap, basically for not liking the all weather. And if anybody fancied a saver on that, I couldn't put them off. But the one to be interested in, a bare look at the form of Le Bayou reads terrible. You'd think Les was trying to kill this, to be honest. It joined in rated 80, but obviously that's no good to our Les. He can't get a few quid on one that's rated 80 and maybe got a pound up his slave.
It didn't get beat. John, it didn't get beat far off 80, did it?
No, it's got to be Lee. I mean, but Les likes him off about 56 when they run to 80. And I watched her on the last day at Southall off an 83-day break, and he moved lovely till they were coming out the turn, and then he just showed that he was needing it a bit, and he wasn't knocked about up the straight at all. There was no chicken wings as such, but it read like a sharpener for me. And either way, he's down to 56 now. He's got probably the best jockey in the race, Will Carver. And say most of these are claiming. He's an uncomplicated ride. He can sit handy-ish, just get a little bit of cover out the wind. And a straightforward Rachel Blackmore last quarter mile out to see him on.
Yeah, like I said, when you pointed it out to me, he does look good. You know, it looks a bit of a plot to me. 80 when he got it, which, like you said, no good to Les.
No.
You know, and it was obviously just campaign with getting it down in the weights. And just after you mentioned it, I watched the replay and at Southall, and it wasn't really busy. It still ran to you'd say not far off what it's handicapped today, just not being that busy. So, and obviously we don't know if it would have been any effective at Southall. It's not bred to be effective at Southall. So I thought that was a very, very good.
I mean, if it was wanting more weight off, that jockey bilking tomorrow would have just said A Moke bracket 7.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, he's gone for Andrew Baldwin's jockey, which in the context of what he's riding against in this, you know, he obviously Benoit's riding for Kevin Philip Defoy, Lady Ironside. That'll probably attract interest because it's Benoit. Benoit claiming 5, John. That might be all right. Claiming 5 against Mint. Safi Osborne makes her comeback in this as well.
Yes, let's hope she sits tight.
Yeah. So welcome back, Safi. You know, good promising talent, I think, there.
I'm surprised he hasn't put a Mekong in that long distance race in Raydam, actually. I thought he'd have stuck her up there and got her a big winner on the board. But there you go.
She's certainly a name to watch out for, I think, Safi is. Like, obviously an eventing champion. You know, she's horses through and through. Father's obviously got good pedigree in terms of jockeyship. So
she's coming back from a hell of a knock as well. You know, I mean,
she's a brave girl.
She doesn't like bottled.
No, absolutely not, and that's what's required in this game. And I think she'll come back and do very well, Will Safi. But anyway, so that's me and John finished with our tipping exploits. He's given you a fantastic nap there at 16-1. Mop it all up and do what you want. And of course, make sure that you take the 11-2 and 6-1, 5-1 acquitted. So when Nick Davis stares at it and it wins by 4 lengths, Nick Davis is spewing. Just think of Nick Davis tomorrow. He won't back it if you take his prices. And he'll be sat there absolutely livid when this thing bolts up and wins by 4.
He'll be back at Upton Park next week trying to kick the shit out of somebody.
Yeah. And he even had to endure that the hammer's been overhauled by Arsenal the other week. 3-3, you know, after being well clear. You know, typical West Ham. So, I mean, Davis is not in great form at the minute, and he won't be in great form when you take the prices unacquitted. So, John has put you right there with a great naps to finish. Do not miss our Sunday sermon show because it is the best. We will be covering our best fancies for this forthcoming flat season, and you will make money from it. I'm not going to guarantee it. No guarantees in this life. Only death and taxes. But they're the guarantees. But listen, me and John have put some work into this, and we fancy our chances of making you some proper cash this summer on the Green Bays. That's all from me and John on our first flat episode. We're excited. Hope you are. And we'll be back on Sunday with the sermon. Bye for now.